Hello, and welcome back to the world's okayest physical therapist podcast. Before we get any further, please consider liking, commenting, subscribing, as it really helps with the algorithm. Now, I'm your host, Dr. H, and today's topic is the things that you should know prior to going to your physical therapy initial appointment. Things that you should know before you talk to your physical therapist for the first time. And the reason why I'm making this podcast is because I think it would help with everyone at large if they could get the following things down into a 5-minute-ish statement to their physical therapist. Because if you can get these things down to a 5-minute sort of statement to your physical therapist, everything will run smoother. The physical therapist will have a much clearer idea of what's going on. Your experience and your outcomes, that is, the likelihood that you have a better recovery, is going to be much more streamlined. So let's start first with understanding what's actually going on at your initial assessment. At your initial evaluation, your first appointment, the physical therapist is going to evaluate you. They're going to look at your range of motion, your strength. They might take a look at some neurological things like your reflexes, your dermatomes, your myotomes. Dermatomes are a map of your skin where sensation should be normal. So ideally, everybody has normal sensation. And there is a map that the physical therapist is going to use to assess different areas of your arms or your legs or your back or your core in order to assess if you have diminished sensation. Myotomes is a really fancy way of saying looking for weaknesses in a very specific pattern in your arms or your legs. Reflexes, we're all familiar with that. If you get smacked in the leg with a reflex hammer, you kick. And if you get hit in your Achilles, your toes jerk. If you get hit in your bicep, your arm jerks. And you get hit in your tricep, your arm extends. So that right there is a little bit for you, that if you're showing up with any sort of neurological condition, your physical therapist is going to take a look at that. If you have balance issues, the physical therapist is going to look at balance issues. If you have functional issues like getting up from a chair, getting out of bed, getting off the floor, doing lunges, all sorts of things like that. If you have things that are functional mobility limitations, the physical therapist is going to take a look at that. If you have things that are more limited by endurance, like you can't walk that far, they might do a 6-minute walk test, which is just taking a look at how far you can walk in 6 minutes and evaluating your cardiovascular fitness. There's a whole host of tests that the physical therapist has in their quiver, if you will, and your ability to convey information to them concisely and accurately is going to help them narrow down which tests are the most precise, the most effective, and are going to be the best at tracking your progress and helping you obtain your goals. Now, the very, very, very first thing you should have in your mind, and if you're writing this down, I'd write it down on a sheet of paper, is how much pain you are in. On a scale of 0 to 10, 0 being no pain, 10 being the worst pain ever, that is the scale. And the physical therapist is going to want to know what the low number is and what the high number is, and the number where you are sitting here in his clinic. The low number would be what is the least amount of pain that you've been in, say, for the last 2 weeks. The high number would be what's the most pain, how much pain have you been in the last 2 weeks? And then the final question would be, and how much pain are you in sitting here in my office right now? If you have those 3 numbers, that's what I write down, again, out of 10. Half numbers, 3.5, 4.5, all that's fine. At least you have a ballpark. The next question is going to be, when did this pain begin? I'd write that one down too. Did it start a month ago, 6 months ago, a year ago? That's important. And then a little note next to that, write if the pain has gotten better, worse, or stayed the same since you first noticed it. That's important. Better, worse, or same. Now, underneath that, we're going to talk about what is called the mechanism of injury, if there is one. And that would be something, for example, where if you were out mowing your lawn on your riding lawnmower and you fell off of it and you hurt your hip, that's a mechanism of injury. A car accident is a mechanism of injury. Throwing a pitch wrong and hurting your shoulder, that's a mechanism of injury. Any activity that you were performing that you can say, yes, this is around when whatever body region it is started hurting, That's your mechanism of injury, and you want to write that down as well. Next, you want to be able to describe what makes the pain worse. So, what activities are you doing that makes it worse? Then you want to talk about what activities or things that you do that makes it feel better. Very common answers for things that make it feel better is rest, ice, Tylenol, Advil, naproxen, which is Aleve, um, sleep, laying down, not using it. All those are things that you can say. Stretching is a really common answer for a lot of people. Sometimes movement makes it feel better. Whatever it is that you've discovered makes it feel better. Next, you want to write what's called your current level of function. That's going to be what are you currently limited in? What is it that you try to do, but you're stopped because of pain or weakness or your inability to do something? And that would be an activity, right? So, like raising your arm over your head, getting up out of a chair, playing with your kids, going to a soccer match, going up and down stairs, anything at all that you know you're limited into due to whatever pain that you're having. And this is important because you don't want to come in and overwhelm your physical therapist and say, hey, I'm here for my ankle, but listen, my shoulder's limited too because of yada, yada, yada. No, we are only talking about the body region that you are there to see your physical therapist for. And this is where it gets a little bit tricky because if you start talking about your shoulder, but you're there for your ankle, that's too much. But if you're talking about your knee, that's okay. And the rule that I like to use is if you're in the same limb, that's when I would talk about both things. So if I hurt my wrist and my elbow also contributes to my wrist pain, that's what the physical therapist wants to know. If you're talking about your wrist and your knee also hurts, no, that's not important. I don't need to know about the knee. If you're not here for the knee, I need to know more about the wrist. So I don't need to know about that one time you were playing soccer and you almost fractured your knee. No, we're here for your wrist. So that's more important. So that's one thing to really tease out. We're not here for every pain ever that you've ever had. We're here for the beginning of the pain for whatever specific body region you're in the clinic for. And then we need to know about your previous level of function. That is, what were you doing before that you didn't have any limitations in before this mechanism of injury? So if you were able to do push-ups without any issues, or getting from a sitting to a standing position, or you could walk just as long as you ever wanted to, or jog however long you wanted to with no restriction, those are all things that the physical therapist needs to know. And finally, on this portion, the physical therapist needs to know your goals. And this is probably where you're going to have to brainstorm quite a bit because you are going to have to tell your physical therapist where you want to be by the time that you're done with physical therapy. The short answer is always, I want to be in less pain. And that's a good answer, but usually you need at least a couple more. So it's like, I want to be pain-free. Okay, what do you want to be pain-free with? What do you feel like you want to strengthen? What do you feel like you want to improve in terms of your range of motion? What activities are you trying to get back to? Are you trying to get back in the basketball court? Are you just trying to get back to living your life? Are you trying to get into and out of the shower without falling? All of these are goals that you should be able to tell your physical therapist on day one, this is what I want to get back to. If you do not know, the physical therapist might be able to help you come up with a couple, but the truth is that's going to be driven more by the physical therapist, and they're going to be taking a look at your limitations, and they might not help you get the goals that you subconsciously want. They might just decide to go after something that looks like your biggest limiting thing, but you don't actually care about. So if you want to get back onto the golf course, you got to tell them. If you want to get back to playing with your grandkids, you got to tell them. You can't assume that the physical therapist is going to know exactly what you want to get back to. That's something that you have to be able to communicate, and that really helps the physical therapist tailor the entire focus of their therapy onto what you want to get back to. Now, once you have all of these things written down and you're able to quickly communicate them to your physical therapist, you've set yourself and them up for great success. Because now the physical therapist can read through, have an idea of when it started, what makes it worse, what makes it better, how much pain you're in, what caused the pain, if anything, what you're, I don't know if I said this already, what you're limited in now, what you weren't limited in before. So they have an idea of what you were able to do activity-wise before this started. And then you've already listed out your goals of what you want to get back to doing. So then when they look up at you, their questions are going to be much more tailored to, okay, so I see this is going on. How does it feel when you do this? How does it feel when you do that? And it's also going to help them tailor a lot of their special tests in order to focus in on what you've described. A really good short example is if you came in, you said your shoulder hurt, and I said, okay, well, how much pain are you in? You said, I'm a 7 out of 10 pain at the worst, 0 out of 10 pain at the best. Right now, sitting here, I'm kind of at a 2, and it feels really achy. And I don't have any numbness and tingling, but it just kind of aches when I try to move it, and it hurts when I try to move it overhead. And this all started when I was playing baseball with a friend, and I threw a pitch a little bit too fast, and I felt something in my shoulder kind of pop, and it gave in a sort of funny way. And ever since then, about 2 months ago, I've been in this sort of pain, and I've tried exercising, but really reaching overhead and any sort of pressing overhead or reaching out in front of me really makes it worse. That flares it up. Kind of resting it here at my side makes it feel a little bit better. If I hold it close and kind of hug it, that's when it feels best and it gets down to a 0. But I've been taking some Tylenol, I've been taking some Advil, and that makes it feel better too. A little bit of ice actually makes it feel better too. But yeah, like I said, I was a pitcher, so I was pitching a lot. Now I can't really pitch at all. I can't put the dishes away like I used to be able to do. Even turning a screwdriver or a doorknob is really hard, and it wasn't before. And my goal is to really get back to pitching because, I'm a college freshman, and my goal is to eventually end up on the varsity team. That just told me everything I needed to know in about a minute and a half. And now, as a PT, I've already thought of all the special tests I'm going to look for at this person's shoulder and tailor all of the rest of my evaluation for the next 45 minutes to help them get back to doing what they want to do because they have clearly outlined to me what they want to do. That is the power and the effectiveness of having your entire story straight. And that is what the goal of this podcast is to help you be able to go into that clinic and to tell other people. You can definitely share this. You should be sharing this with anybody that's getting ready to go to physical therapy because this will help them tailor down and communicate to their physical therapist what exactly they need to know. So this has been How to Talk to Your Physical Therapist on day 1. I hope you appreciated it. I hope you liked it. I hope you share it because a lot of people need to know this. Share it with your grandparents, share it with your parents, share it with your friends. Because if you do this, you will save yourself a lot of time and a lot of frustration once you get to a clinic and you feel like either your physical therapist isn't hearing you or they're not understanding the story of why you're there. If you write it down just like I helped you and I laid it out through here, I guarantee you that your physical therapy first encounter is going to go a lot more smooth than it would have been if you didn't. So, again, thank you for listening. I almost said thank you for watching. This is a podcast. Thank you for listening. Please consider joining the Patreon to help support this project and support everybody living a happy, healthy, long life. Check out the Discord for free workouts that I've put together. I have friends that are personal trainers that have helped me put together programs. I have some influence from some special warfare people that have helped me put together their PT programs. We also have a little bit of a community growing on there that's just talking about staying healthy and staying in the gym, so it's helpful for a little bit of accountability. And please consider looking at following us on YouTube and Rumble and subscribing on there, and also check out the Etsy, which has some t-shirts for sale, which you can all find in the description. So everybody stay healthy, stay fit, and stay awesome, and I will catch you all in the next video.